here.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Oh, the
Taking out
microphone
one
is for
Zoom,
the,
right.
is for your, Zoom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Town Board Supervisors. I promised some time ago to personally visit all of the borrow pits in Fredenberg Township. And on 3 different occasions, 3 different dates, over the course of the last 2 months, I personally have been at every one of the pits, the borrow pits in Fredenberg Township. I was at, my planning director, Matt Johnson, has also personally been at every one of the borrow pits, although we did not go together to every one. On this last date, on the August 3rd date, he and I visited, I believe, 7 different ones together. But you'll see within the report, and I'm going to apologize in advance. Part of the reason for the delay in this, of course, is this is still being litigated. And the report that you're getting today is basically a status report and pictures of all of the existing pits. There isn't a lot more information in there. I will assure you that our staff continues to monitor all of the borrow pits within Fredenberg and all of the areas that we do planning and zoning on, to make sure that those pits are in compliance with the ordinance and with the permissions that they've been granted through our planning and zoning and our board of adjustment. So this is basically a synopsis of all of the pits. I can't tell you there aren't issues, but I can tell you that we did not observe any borrow pit issues. We did observe other issues that we're dealing with, and those are private matters that we're dealing with those parties on, but they're not necessarily borrow pit issues. They were disposal issues, items improperly disposed of or improperly stored. And that's really what we witnessed. We do have a number of pits, several pits in Fredenberg Township that are essentially closed pits, and they've been reclaimed. And planning staff is working with the permit holders on those pits to close out those pits so they'll no longer appear on this report. You'll see a couple of asterisks on there. I believe there's 2 or maybe 3 asterisks on different pits that are essentially closed pits. They've been reclaimed. I believe one had a pretty nice alfalfa field on it, and the other one is a homestead. So again, we're assisting them with closing out those pits. There's paperwork they have to fill out to close up that site and close out the permit. So the commitment that I made, I wanted to make certain that this board, I missed the timeline because we were advised by our attorney's office to not be here. Okay, so I'm still operating under that, but I'm here anyhow because I promised I would be here. And this report is our best attempt at that, again, prior to what is the final disposition of this matter, which will be coming in October. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair and Supervisors, unless you have questions for me. Is that?
I have one question. How can we go about having every pit driveway chloride?
Entrance to the
Yeah,
pits.
entrance to every pit.
We can make it a condition in the original permits, and that has been done. But most of the time, I mean, the chloriding of those roads is done by the organizations themselves because of the amount of damage that dust does to their own vehicles.
Well, some pits are doing it, but not all.
That is correct. We witnessed that some pits are, and some are not. And again, that's part of their business plan if it's not affecting their equipment. Now, if it's affecting the neighborhoods, I want to hear about that, and we can work with them and have that conversation about, because they're private roads, they're not public roads. conversation with them, but they weren't, I don't believe any of them have that as a condition of their condition, they're seeking a permit. But if there's an issue within the neighborhood, I certainly wanna hear about that, and we can work with those pit owners and have that conversation to try and have them address that. Because it's not something we wanna see, certainly, but again, most of them do chloride their entrance roads just because of that very issue. Those trucks, those big diesel motors are pretty expensive, and sucking in the dust is not good for them.
On this list of pits, you said there's an asterisk on some that
There's an
are basically
asterisk.
idle.
Yeah, there's an asterisk, I believe, on it.
It appears to have been restored, but I don't see the, oh, there is this little star.
Hold on just one second as I try and get to that page. I believe, as I was reviewing this,
I see it now, there's two.
yeah, there's
pits in
one
there.
on the number 9, the Minnesota Power Pit, and another one on
Pearson South.
the Pearson South. There's another one, too, that, there was another one that was questionable. I guess when we visited these pits, some of them have not had activity in them for a number of years. And those are some of the owners that we're having dialogue with, that if the pit is no longer going to be active, you know, under their permits, we want them to restore those pits. If they're not, if it's not something that they intend to use again, part of the permitting process is to restore that pit.
And close out the permit. get
Close
it
out the
books.
permit.
Just like number 1 on the list, I think that's a restored pit. Doesn't have an asterisk next to it, but I think that's.
That's one of them that we're still having conversations with, yes.
Okay.
And all of those, any of the regulatory components of this, those are all conversations that are private conversations between the county and the permit holder. Unless there's a citation, they will remain that way, unless there's an issue or a citation. And again, the one pit, and you can see it in the pictures, we do have one pit that has some issues with improper disposal. And I won't go into the details on that, but it's improper disposal of any number of items. And that's something that, because this is in the WLSSD area, we're not working with the county on to have those addressed. Okay, so we have to go through the WLSSD to have those addressed.
Well, thank you. One moment, did we get any feedback on our Zoom? We have 2 supervisors not here. Can they hear the conversations, or can they respond and let us know if they can hear fine? Or if they can, muted just to respond. Sorry, just want to make sure that we're not going through the motions and nobody can hear us.
Mr. Chair, I'm here for whatever you need. And I appreciate you moving me up.
Well, that's no problem.
There's an awful lot of things going on in St. Louis County right now, and just trying to fit some other things in at the same time.
No response from either
Sounds
one.
like they're trying to.
And Mr. Chair, while you're looking at that, I would like to take just a moment or two and talk about a couple of other issues that are really starting to take shape.
Definitely, that's, I figured you had a lot more to say than just talk about this tonight.
I would like to, if you have just a moment.
Oh, definitely, just 2 supervisors were here, I think, part because of the COVID thing, COVID issue, but I think they're listening, but
Sometimes we, after the meeting is done, we hear people could not hear what was said. So I just wanted, I don't want to waste your time. People can't hear
Mr.
you.
Chair, St. Louis County is having the exact same issues with Zoom, and it seems like the networks are overloaded all the time. You know, we we crash in the middle of a meeting and all of a sudden we lose everything. So, we understand.
Maybe as a conversation till he clears up about that,